Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning? And welcome to Complex PTSD TV. It's wonderful to be here with you and be sharing this time, this really stressful at times, challenging at times, lock-in that we're all experiencing globally. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. Welcome to our beautiful class that we have every morning. And if you're here for the replay, do a hashtag replay. It's always great to catch up with you. And let me know if you have any questions. This morning, our session is titled How Not to Kill Your Spouse During COVID-19. And it's actually going to be part 1 because with complex PTSD, we need a part 2. So, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to do the easier, more relatable parts, and tomorrow we're going to do the more challenging parts of either living with someone with complex PTSD, how to manage your way through that, and if you're both triggering each other, what do you do in that situation? So we'll go through those tomorrow. But for today, because we're just getting into the swing of managing lockdown, I want to give you some information that will be helpful immediately. Now, it's important to remember that we only take the one next step out of our comfort zone to begin to manage all of this. So whilst I'll give you a list, the list will go up into a blog post, into the Facebook stream, etc. Take just one thing once a day so that you can begin to manage it over time, because this isn't going away overnight. So the first thing you want to do is make a list of why you love each other and stick it on the fridge. It may get lost in all the paperwork on the fridge, so stick it on your bathroom mirror, stick it on your wardrobe door, wherever you need to put these lists of why you love each other, because you want to remember this is why you got into a relationship together. You want to remind yourself of all the good things, because the months ahead of us are going to be tough and we need these visual reminders, okay? And even if it's to do with family, sit down and write out why you love them. You need these visual reminders. Remember, our vision takes in 40% of information. So making a list of why you love them, it also helps us keep working on our relationship, no matter whether we're single or married or partnered, in whatever way. We keep reminding ourselves. And remember, with complex PTSD, our memories, 4 different areas of memory that are challenged. So sit down and write out and remind yourself why you love each other. That'll be the first thing. Next thing you can do is do everything with headphones in, including when you've got kids, because then they'll get the message that they need to go and pay attention elsewhere. Now, I say this tongue in cheek, but it's a reality. As a mum, we tend to just drop everything and do what they need. Whereas it's putting our headphones in, it's teaching us to at least have a breath before we answer them. And it's also teaching them, well, mum's got things that she needs to get done as well. And if you want to come up with another way of doing it, that's quite okay as well. Just start with the one thing and see how you go. Most important thing of all, plan an online coffee date with your girlfriends, because you're going to need to download. It's part of our nature, our makeup. It's not about having solutions. It's about sitting with somebody who understands that, you're sorting your stuff out, but you just need to download. Sometimes I just need to download just so that I can put it all in sequential order and make sense of it. And that really helps. So schedule in your coffee date with your girlfriend, and it's either Facebook Live, Messenger, chat, I think it's called, WhatsApp. Grab whatever freebie online app that works for you. WhatsApp's pretty good. Chloe and I use that. She's in Indonesia, so we use WhatsApp for photos, for voice messages, for texting, and video chat. So WhatsApp, you can use it for everything, and it's really simple. Your highest priority right now has to be making a budget. It really does. And it has to be something that you nut out together and you agree on, because financially so many of us have had changed circumstances. So agree that it can be, reworked at any time, but sit down and do your budget together. I know one couple, it took them 5 hours to nut out a budget that would work for both of them, but it's worth it in the end, because then you're both on the same page about what's happening for you. And financially, it's the greatest divorce maker, let's call it that. If you're not on the same page financially, it causes the biggest angst and the biggest and quickest rate for divorce. So get that happening straight away. And if you haven't got a book called The Barefoot Investor, grab one. It's couples I know that use it together swear by it. It wasn't around when I was a couple, so I haven't used it as a couple, but it's brilliant, easy to use information. So it's The Barefoot Investor. You'll find it on Amazon and everywhere. Agree to a daily routine and focus on sticking with it. You may not get it right every day, but return your focus to it. And if you're getting up in the morning at the same time and doing your day and getting a routine happening, it'll make life less stressful, because you're still getting up and getting into a routine. If you think, I'm at home, I'll just lie in bed, then things are going to go on a downhill curve pretty quickly, because we do need to be disciplined and get up and do our day, all right? We have weekends off around here. But honestly, everything I've read as well online says keep your focus, keep your morning routine happening, and that helps the rest of your day flow as well. So both of you sit down and agree to what your morning routine will be, so that it's comfortable for both of you, and then what you're going to do with the kids, who looks after the kids while one works, etc., etc. And if you're working at home and you've got complex PTSD, sit and work for an hour, get up and move around, play with the kids for 15 minutes, morning tea every hour. But do something so that you can concentrate more effectively for shorter periods of time, rather than trying to concentrate for longer periods of time and not be as effective. And you'll find that it works better. It really does. Even though I don't have a spouse here, I do this. I make myself keep track of time and what I'm doing and what time limit I'm putting on for each particular part of my work, because it helps me come back into reality and realise how much I can and can't do in each moment of time. So it's vital, vital for us to do that. And remember to have lots of laughter, and if you need to make a playlist of YouTube videos that make you laugh, then sit down and do that. Especially if the pressure gets too much, sit down and laugh. And get out and exercise, even if you have to drag your spouse kicking and screaming, your kids kicking and screaming. It's for the best. And if you don't want to go outside and exercise, get on YouTube and do a video on YouTube, and it gets all that energy out of the kids as well. It's really good for them, and it's good for their brain, and it's good for our brain as well. But we need to do it differently. We need to do it slowly and focusing on our breath to see where our body's really tight and where we're holding on to our breath, This happened for me this morning. Nick and I went out for a walk around 5 instead of 4:30 this morning. And as we went the other way, so we started walking uphill, and as soon as we started walking uphill, I could feel how tight my body was. So we don't get a choice in our body and our brain holding on to stuff, because that's the habit and the pattern they've been in for, for me, decades. And so we have to be willing to get out there and do what we need to do to retrain the body and the brain, that we're literally safe to get breath into us, safe to breathe. Now, when we're doing this, be aware for complex PTSD that it is tiring. So you may come home. So I come home and I do trauma-informed movement as well. And it gets off the brain freeze, all right? And the brain shut down. But then because you're retraining your whole internal system, it's tiring. So it's not like when you go to the gym and you're retraining your whole physical body. We're actually retraining our whole internal nervous system, everything, to get more oxygen into it. And definitely for me, it's more oxygen inside than I've had in years. And I just find that it can be very, very tiring, because we're still under that period of time as well, where there's a lot of change. And so there's a lot of, it's not that it's unknown pressure, but it's unfelt pressure. And I'm constantly amazed at how much my body holds on to, even though I feel good and focused about going forward. There's just this whole habit of not just holding the breath, but I realised this morning that when the brain shuts down, the normal response is to dissociate. So today I'm working really hard on not dissociating. And that's a whole other chat show, how we do that. But we want to do, in order to save our marriage, we want to communicate. Raw and real communication. And if you haven't done it in years, then we need to start again. We need to be willing to open up and have those conversations, even if initially we're not getting a result that we want. We still have to be willing to use our voice, because with complex PTSD, one of our habits can be that we shut down. We don't talk about things because we go, well, that's happened in the past. And quite frankly, we need to be saying, no, now I want things to change. We're in a changing situation, so I have to step up and change. I have to have things addressed, and I need to be willing to use my voice and say, look, I'm not happy with this. What do you think we can do about this? And it is hard. It is hard to break those habits for decades of believing that we have to be quiet, that we have to not bother. And it's better to start speaking up and learning how to speak up than it is to keep swallowing everything that's left unsaid. It's just not worth it. If you keep swallowing it, you end up in a pretty cranky, upset marriage. And I think it's more productive to get up and start talking about it and say, even if you don't have a solution right now, start communicating and saying, look, I don't have a solution, but geez, I'm feeling this way. And we can't expect our spouse to solve our feelings, but we can sit there and say, look, I need to process this, and this is what I need to do. I need to talk it through to see what is my one next step as well. If you're like me and you're single, you will have developed friendships and relationships, and odd times I just get my sons. They're so gorgeous. I'll say, listen, I just need to get all this out and process it, and then I don't need anything from them, and they're great. They sit there with the phone, Josh does, and I just go blah, 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 as I'm processing it. And as women, we are verbal creatures. We do need to get things out in order to process it, because if we swallow it, then it just creates bitterness and resentment, and we don't want to go down those paths because they can cause us to be ill. Okay. And create new traditions. You now have the most amazing opportunity to create new traditions in your family. All right. So whether it's getting online and having a meal with your family all over the place, whether it's, I had a whole list yesterday that you can do, and all of a sudden it went right out of my mind. But look at the list from yesterday. You want to create new traditions even around in your own household. All right, so what's this mean for us? How long are we going to, if you've got kids, how long do we need to sit down and do the schoolwork for? How long do we need to go and have some time to enjoy as well? All right, because we want to teach our kids that yes, things have changed, but we can roll with the punches too. We can go with the flow. We can work our way through it and how we're going to manage it. And we may not get it right every single day, but we're going to have a go at living in this beautiful mess and working out what's the one next step, our hardest next step. And, you know, if you're a mum and you feel like you've got strings attached to you and, you know, being pulled in 500 different directions, because that's what it can feel like, just want to visualize cutting the strings and breathing and recentering in yourself and focusing on what you need to do. Because if you get done what you need to do, you'll be happier than if you continue to helicopter parent your kids, all right? Because the kids need to learn to think about what they need to do as well. So we teach them how to think. Okay, so tomorrow morning we're going to go through How Not to Kill Your Spouse number 2, specifically around the brain and when it shuts down and what we can do to get off shutdown, how we can manage our communication through shutdown, and a few other things as well, because it's really, really important that we manage our mental health throughout this entire situation, because we don't want to go down the rabbit hole. You know, we don't want to go down and down and down. We want to go, right, I'm working at it one day at a time and I'm going to stay well. That's my intent. Okay? Remember, you are loved and appreciated. And thanks, girls, for coming this morning. Remember to leave any questions or comments down below. Hit like, subscribe and share for all those people around the world who need this information now. I know I'm ahead of time somewhat, but all of this information is going to become very, very needed as we go along throughout this time. Have the most gorgeous day and evening, and I will see you tomorrow morning with part 2. Bye for now.